Yes, indeed, Nzinga, from German politics to our own. Mmusi Maimane has had to apologise for accusing 5 councillors in the city of Cape Town council who resigned ostensibly in support for the embattled mayor Patricia De Lille of corruption. The leader of the official opposition had alleged that the 5 were mentioned in a Bowman's report which implicates De Lille in wrongdoing. The De Lille saga continues to be a nightmare for the Democratic Alliance, with elections just months away. We're joined now by the second deputy federal chairperson of the party, Natasha Mazonne, on the line. Natasha, good evening to you and thank you for joining us this evening. Let's start with Patricia De Lille saying that Mmusi Maimane is not in control of the party. She says he takes orders from others in leadership, and this is yet another example of that.
Well, I think it's very clear that in the past week, Mr. Lille has done everything possible to vilify the Democratic Alliance for doing what's right and expected from the organisation. I think her comments made about the leader of the Democratic Alliance are patronising and insulting, and at the very least go to prove why she really doesn't see herself as a member of the Democratic Alliance any longer. And I personally find her comments towards the leader absolutely insulting.
Well, let's quote what he said on Friday. He says for 5 Cape Town councillors, the DA wasn't a racist party last month, but now a credible forensic investigation by a credible legal firm has allegedly implicated them in tender irregularities. The DA is suddenly a racist party, end quote. That's what he wrote on Friday. Now, had he not read the report, or was he, as Mr. Lille will contend, reading someone else's script?
He was certainly not reading someone else's script. I think that he misspoke, and I think he's already corrected his Bokamoso account and his letters, but he will certainly not be apologising to ANC collaborators. So he corrected an error that he made in a statement, and I think that goes to show that he had no mala fide in making the statement, and he's gone straight ahead to...
Or it might go, or it might go to show that he had not read the report. He was merely following somebody else's words. I mean, that's what Patricia De Lille insists. Surely it looks bad for him to have made such an error.
Well, the thing is, Patricia De Lille is calling everyone a scripted spokesperson. I mean, this is her favourite line. She's used it on me. She's used it on numerous other people. It's her fallback position that everyone is a scripted spokesperson. One would easily be able to turn around and say that the 5 members who resigned together with her were nothing more than scripted spokespeople, given the timing of their resignation as well as the way in which they resigned.
With respect, though, I mean, these were senior members of council who had very senior roles in the party. The idea that they were just also following a script surely doesn't hold.
Well, then the same goes with Mr. Maimane. Mr. Maimane is the leader of the Democratic Alliance, and to insinuate that he's the leader...
They've resigned in principle. He is making facts of error. Either. They resigned in principle. He is making errors of fact.
Well, I think that the fact of the matter is he's rectified the error immediately, and that's a lot more than can be said for Mr. Lille and her 5 members who made the most atrociously racist and insulting statements about Mr. Maimane.
Well, let's talk about what some of her objections are, Natasha. She says, for example, you guys are picking and choosing which reports suit your line as far as her reputation is concerned, because she says the 2 that are out are contradictory.
I think Mr. Lille is deliberately trying to cause as much confusion as she possibly can. The facts are actually quite simple. An independent investigation appointed by the City Council of Cape Town, and at the time Mr. Lille herself even voted for it, has recommended that Mr. Lille be criminally charged for interfering in city tenders. So it's very convenient to now turn around and say that there are conflicting reports, when at the time she was so eager to have her name cleared that she herself voted for the independent investigation to happen. It's certainly no problem of ours now that she doesn't like the outcome of that investigation.
Look, by your own admission, and you've said this before on a number of platforms, this issue, the longer it drags, the more damage it does to the brand of the Democratic Alliance, with elections just months away.
Indeed. It's very dramatic for the Democratic Alliance. It causes us great reputational damage, and Mr. Lille knows this. It's one of the very reasons that she's extending this for as long as possible. It's to cause now maximum damage that she can to the party. I'm pleased to say that the councillors, there are 154 councillors in the city of Cape Town, 5 resigned with her. The rest of the councillors are determined to do their work and do it to the best of their ability. In the DA itself, we are not letting this interfere in any way with the running of the party, and certainly in no way with the service delivery that we've promised our voters.
Well, can you confirm if by the end of this week Patricia De Lille will still be mayor, and what happens if she changes her mind about that deal she struck with Mmusi Maimane?
Well, what I can say is this, and it's quite simple. Mr. Maimane was given an agreement, a signed agreement by Mr. Lille, which they presented together in a joint press conference that the SABC themselves covered, in which it was agreed that if the internal charges from within the DA were dropped, Mr. Lille would resign as mayor on the 31st of October. And I hasten to repeat, the internal charges that dealt with the internal DA constitution, not with any statutory or independent investigation that happened. Certainly the DA has stuck to its end of the agreement. Those internal charges were dropped. According to the Democratic Alliance, the agreement stands as was signed by Mmusi Maimane and Mr. Lille. And on the 31st of October, we will deem Mr. Lille to no longer be the mayor of the city of Cape Town.
All right, we'll have to leave it there with the DA's second Deputy Federal Chairperson, Natasha Mazonne. Thank you so much for your time this evening. And of course, it's part of our question of the day.